Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City, where we gather every Sunday, not just to be uplifted, but to be transformed. I'd like to extend a warm welcome, a warm greeting to all of you signing in on Zoom now, all of you who have been with us since the meditation, those of you watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or any of the social platforms from around the world. So whether you're here live or catching the replay later today, this weekend, this week, you are part of this community and you're in the right place right now. At First Church, we're grounded in the timeless spiritual philosophy known as the science of mind, created by Dr. Ernest Holmes, who taught there's power for good in the universe greater than you, and you can use it. He actually said there's power for you. There's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are a part, and you can use it. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Not theory, not fluff, but deep, usable truth, spiritual principles that you can work with, you can apply, and you can live by. So before we get into the lesson for today, let me remind you of our weekly gatherings. Every Wednesday at 7, Jimmy hosts the Creative Living series, which is a wonderful place to explore spiritual principles, tools, and to gain insights that can help you live more fully, more joyfully. Thursday evenings, I've been facilitating the Louise material based upon the book, You Can Heal Your Life. I've been doing that for many, many years, continuing on with her work. We have probably the longest running self-healing class, I think, anywhere known. So join with us any Thursday, 7 o'clock. It's the same Zoom links also. And here we are Sunday mornings, starting, of course, at 10:45 with our meditation and now our lesson. Always we want to thank those of you who are here. Your presence alone means a lot. Some of you support us economically. You support our work, and we're most appreciative. There are support options in the chat rooms. You'll see them to the right on the screen. If you'll move to, you can also send a check to us at First Church at 204 West 84th Street, New York, 10024. But everything we do is here free of charge. It's based upon love offerings. So the main thing is here, and hopefully you're benefiting from these lessons. Your presence is the greatest gift. And we have a time for everyone to share after just about everything we do. So the title of today's lesson is Don't Go Average on Me. So I'll tell you where that line comes from. It came from one of my teachers many years ago, a mentor who didn't sugarcoat the truth ever. We were in the middle of a class, deep into discussion, and he looked around and he said, this isn't a teaching for average people. That got all of our attention. He smiled and he added, don't go average on me now. You've got the entire universe in you. And he said, act like you have, act like it. So I'll say it to y'all. Don't go average on me. You've got the entire universe behind you, within you. Act like it. So that moment stayed with me because what he meant was the path we're on, this teaching in New Thought with the science of mind, is a journey. It's certainly not about playing small. It's not about trying to fit in or coasting through life. It's always about waking up. It's about stepping into your true nature as a radiant, creative, living being. And it's about refusing to let the world tell you who you are. So let's be honest, the world is not really set up to empower you. It's set up to normalize the average, the small, and the predictable. The masses, for the most part, as many authors have told us through literature, the masses have been hypnotized into fear, into conformity, into repeating what no longer works. But the great changes in history, the true turning points, have never come from the crowd. They've always come from the individual who thinks. from one soul who refused to blend in, from the Emersons, the Curies, the Mandelas, the mystics, the spiritual pioneers, one and all, those who saw something and dared to live it. You are that soul, and this is your wake-up call this morning. This talk is not for the part of you that's content to repeat yesterday. This talk is for the part of you that's ready to rise. So don't go average on me now. You've got the entire universe behind you. So let's act like we know that is true. So when my teacher said that to me in that class, what he meant was the path that we're on in this new thought journey is not about playing small. It's not about fitting in, and it's not about getting by and coasting through life. Again, it's about really challenging yourself to wake up and step into your true nature as a radiant, creative being. You'll hear me week after week using the Louise material. Deep at the center of your being is this infinite well of intelligence, love, and light. So we want to step into that nature and know that we are that radiant, creative being and refuse to let the world to tell you otherwise. This talk, again, is not for the part of you that's content with repeating all the things that have gone on before. This is for the part of you that's ready to rise. Now, the great poet Rumi, who many of you know I quote often, he gave us some instruction on this when he said, don't get lost in the pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. Don't go back to sleep. You were born with wings, so why prefer to crawl through life? So take that in for a moment. You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life? And let me be clear. Choosing not to be average doesn't mean you have to be flashy, you have to be loud. It just means you have a desire and an intention to be awake. It means having the courage to live from your truth, even when the world doesn't always applaud it. It means being the kind of person who walks into a room and changes the energy, not because you're performing, but because you're present and you're aware of your presence. It means remembering that your very presence is a revolution. I ask everyone that question before, and this is the question that today's message is built upon. So this morning we're going to talk about the power of not going average, not in your thinking, not in your identity, not in your habits, not going average in your dreams, because you weren't created by the universe of infinite intelligence just to blend in. You were created. You were an individualization of this energy, as you'll hear me say week after week. You were not created to blend in. You were created to wake up, to light up, and to show up. Show up as a living, breathing expression of this one energy, one life. So let's get started. Let's look at where average creeps in and how we might break free from it. Let's ask ourselves a few questions or start thinking. Because let's look at our thinking. Because if your thinking stays average, your life will stay average. That makes sense, right? If your thinking stays average, your life stays average. Most people aren't really thinking. And what we talk a lot about is being alive in the moment, being awake. Most people aren't really thinking, they are repeating. They're not in new moments. They're rehashing yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's fears, last year's opinions, and inherited patterns that they've never really questioned a lot. Ernest Holmes said to us, life is a mirror, and it's going to reflect back to the thinker what he or she thinks into it. So if we habitually think small, life responds in kind. If we tell ourselves the same old stories, I can't do it, I'm too old, it's too late for me, that's just how it is, that's how life is. If I keep on sounding like that, you know what we're going to get. Then we start living in a tiny box, right, of our own thinking. The only ones doing it to us is ourselves. But when we step out of all of that, when we rise above the hypnotism of the crowd or all that type of thought, When we dare to think for ourselves, when we dare to awaken spirit, and when we dare to awaken that sacred spark inside us, the creative intelligence will respond to you immediately. See, this teaching is not about wishful thinking. It's not about wishing and hoping. This teaching is about conscious thinking. It's about thinking from possibility, thinking from truth. In other words, I'm connected with the one and I'm supplied and supported. I'm thinking from that place of knowing I'm supplied and supported. It's about thinking from expansion. And maybe you've been thinking, it's late. I've missed my chance. I should have figured all that out by now. Or you might be thinking, people like me, they don't get to live that kind of life that you're talking about. And all this type of stuff is nonsense. It isn't factual, but this is a type of habituated thought that many people think. These are simply old thoughts, recycled, and repeated. I once spoke to a woman who had given up on a dream. She had been good helping people. She'd worked in a few healing modalities, treatment centers, and she was good. She wanted to be a therapist because she thought, she knew she could be good at it, but she was telling herself she was too old in her early 40s. And I remember talking to her, and she realized she was telling herself a whopper of a story, and it wasn't the truth. It was a borrowed belief, something she kept repeating. And after our discussion, a little bit of classwork, she enrolled, I think it was a month or two later, and today she's in practice. She's in private practice helping people rewrite their own stories. So let's take a moment to talk about identity. Identity is a big word in this country now, because average loves to cling on to labels. You got this average thing going. You like to cling on labels. You tell yourself you're this, that, or the other thing. We live in a world that's obsessed with surface level identities. Talk about our age or genders, title, status, zip code, relationship status. But none of that is who you are. You are a spiritual being. That's what you are. You're not your past. You're not your resume. You're not your wounds. You're not what's happened to you. You are the I am. You are the individualized expression of the infinite. I'll say that one again. You are the I am. You are the individualized expression of the infinite. And if you forget that, the world will gladly assign you an identity. So don't let it. Remember and tell yourself, I am the I am. I'm the individualized expression of the infinite. Don't let yourself forget it, because the world, again, will gladly assign you an identity, and it will be small, an identity that's safe and predictable and manageable. But you did not come into this world to be manageable. You came in this world to be magnificent. Again, you didn't come into this world to be manageable or to be managed. You came here to be magnificent. I know a man who used to introduce himself by saying, I'm a sick and suffering, recovering alcoholic. In fact, I knew a lot of people who used to say that. That was some 40 some odd years ago. And I reminded the person, I wouldn't keep saying that. That might be part of your past. And I would challenge him by saying, what is your present identity? And today, I think he says, I now know I'm a powerful creator who supports others on the path of recovery. So we don't want to be saying things like, I'm a sick and suffering anything. It might have been a place of being at some point in your distant past, but it isn't the truth of you to start with, and it isn't the truth of you now. So know that you're powerful. Know that you're capable. You are a creator who is supporting other people on their paths in life. So let's move on to the subject of habits. This one's real, because average isn't just a mindset. Average is a pattern. And if we want to be honest, most people live our lives kind of like on automatic pilot. We just don't think. We're doing the same thoughts. We have the same reactions, the same excuses. Average lives in the default settings. So you're scrolling through your devices instead of reflecting. And you're reacting maybe more than responding. And you're worrying instead of wondering. But once you start practicing spiritual principles, spiritual awareness, you start to realize something. You are not these habits. You are the one who can change them. You can pause, you can choose to do it differently. You can choose to redirect your thinking, you can choose to redirect your energy. You can ask, what's the higher choice here? What's the most self-loving thing I can do here? What would the expanded version of me do in this new moment? Because we're always in a new moment if we allow ourselves to be. So that's how we break this average cycle. We break it from the inside out. And finally, let's talk about dreams. Because average always wants to downsize your dreams. It whispers things like, be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Or who do you think you are? Well, I'll tell you who you are. You are a dreamer with the power of the universe behind you. And I mean that literally. There is a creative intelligence that responds to your vision, not your doubts. Again, there is a creative intelligence that responds to your vision, not your doubt. It doesn't ask you if you're worthy. It asks, are you willing to believe? Again, not whether you're worthy. It asks, are you willing to believe in your dreams? Maybe you've dreamed of writing a book or starting a business or moving to a place that lights up your soul. But every time you get close to it, then the what ifs creep in. What if I fail? What if no one wants to read it? What if no one will support me? What if I'm really not enough? Well, you're not alone in any of this. That's the voice of average once again. But that voice is not your truth. Your truth says, if I can dream it, I can be it, and I can do it. And I don't have to do it all alone. So today, I'm inviting everybody to consider stop the process of downsizing. Let's stop waiting for permission. Let's stop settling for average. Let's stop settling for average on our thoughts, our identity, our habits, our dreams. Because when you challenge yourself to rise, you don't just change your life, you elevate the atmosphere all around you. So let's seal that in with a breath and a release. Let's take in a deep breath and exhale. Just release some of the old average ideas of you, the ideas that you've been carrying, ideas that tell you that you can't. I now release every thought that says I can't. I release every story that told me it's too late, every idea that I can't. I release the belief that I have to play small. I have to do something to be safe. I release the lie that my past defines my future. I release the tendency to shrink, to fit into the room. I release all of this. Now, I'd like you all to think, you can affirm after me, speaking these truths with power. You could repeat after me if you like. I think from truth. Yes, I think from truth, and I choose from power. I choose from power. I live from wholeness. Again, I live from wholeness. I create from love. I create from love. I create from this loving, connected place. I rise into full expression of who I am. I rise into the full expression of who I am, and I rise in full expression of who I came here to be. I rise into the full expression of who I came here to be. I don't go average, I go infinite. Again, I don't go average, I go infinite. I go radiant, I go radiant. I go divine, I go divine. So here's the truth nobody tells you in mainstream culture. You don't have to become extraordinary to uncover that you already are. Again, you don't have to become extraordinary to uncover that you already are. The spiritual path isn't about adding greatness. It's about removing the filters in front of you that made you forget already that you have it. The real you, the expanded you, is not trying to become someone. It's trying to express the infinite power, intelligence, and love that already lives at your core. And here's the part we often forget. When we stop playing average, you stop attracting average. You stop settling for people who don't see you. You stop agreeing with situations that drain you. You stop pretending to be fine with things that simply are not fine. Because the expanded version of you doesn't need approval. The expanded version of you doesn't need validation. It doesn't need a committee vote. It only needs one thing: your connection, your alignment with truth, your alignment with courage, your alignment with that still small voice within you. Hear me, everyone here listening to my words. You were made for more. You weren't created by an infinite mind just to pay bills and get by. You weren't born to take surveys and to follow trends or to base your self-worth on what's trending this week. So let's get real for a moment. Just because everybody believes something doesn't make it true. Many years ago, Dr. Bill, one of my favorite teachers, told me a story about an old Renault commercial. The slogan at the time, if I remember, was 10,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong, regarding the Renaults. And Dr. Bill looked up with a dry smile and he said, not only can they be wrong, they frequently are wrong. Now, he wasn't picking on the French. He was exposing a lie. If the crowd agrees, it must be right, is the lie. And that kind of thinking will keep you small forever. So let's break it down. Everybody once believed the world was flat, right? Everybody once believed the body couldn't heal itself. Everybody once believed you couldn't fly through the air. And yes, everybody once believed that women weren't capable of handling money. And they used to say, let the man do the finances. That's too much for her. And now, most people would agree that women are far better at handling it. And they might balance the checkbooks better, the budget, and much more. So, and they could do it all probably before lunch. So again, why are we still listening to what everybody says and everybody thinks? Why are we still letting mass consciousness set the thermostat of our potential? Just because something is normal doesn't make it wise. Just because it's popular doesn't make it powerful. Average thinking builds cages. Conscious, awake thinking breaks them. And that's your job. That's your job now. Not to follow the crowd, but to lead your own life. It's entirely up to you. Not to blend in, but to wake up. So let's seal this idea with a moment of reflection. You could close your eyes for a moment if you'd like. Take another deep breath in into the center of your being and say to yourself, I remember who I am. I now know that I'm one with the one. I remember who I am. I'm not average. I'm aligned. I'm connected with Source. I'm not limited. I'm luminous. I'm not waiting. I'm ready now. Again, I'm not waiting. I'm ready now. Because the extraordinary you is not a fantasy. It's not a distant goal. It's the realist part of you, ready to take the lead. Let me tell you, about someone you probably haven't heard of before. Some of you may have. I think I've spoken of her only once before. Gladys Burrell was a real estate agent and a flight instructor. That sounds pretty ordinary. But she was 86 years old and she did something very, well, it was noteworthy at least. At 86 years old, people were telling her to slow down. She was walking, and she was in marathons, and she trained, and she prepared. She stayed in motion. At 92, she became the oldest woman ever to complete a marathon. They called her the Gladiator. When asked for her secret, she didn't say anything mystical or complicated. She said, "Eat as healthy as you can and exercise." So many young people don't realize the importance of exercise, she commented. Just put one foot ahead of the other. And then she added something even deeper. She said, "It's so important to think positively. It's easy to get discouraged and to be negative." That's it, right there. She didn't set out to make headlines. She didn't set out to become a symbol of anything. She just refused to shrink. That's what our teaching is all about. Not becoming someone else, but becoming who you already are in your highest form, in your highest expression. We do it with the little things, the ordinary things, the big moments, the unspectacular moments that quietly shape our lives. What does not going average look like on an average day? Well, it might look like waking up in the morning, the first thing you do is, instead of letting your phone get your attention or your to-do list, just walk into your kitchen, your bathroom, and speak to yourself with kindness. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I've got you. I love you." Saying "I love you" before your mind says "I'm too busy." Catching yourself before you snap and responding from connection instead of reaction. Realizing that you don't have to win every argument because your peace matters more than your point. Refusing to let a rough morning define your whole day. All this means showing up to the small, repetitive, often invisible parts of our life and doing them with love, with power, and with choice. It's remembering I don't have to match the chaos. I don't have to feed the fear. I don't have to play small, even when no one's watching, because the world doesn't need more people acting spiritual. The world needs more people who are living wide awake. They need us at the grocery store. They need us awake with our text messages, while driving, while listening, while forgiving. So let's have a moment, a guided moment here. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes again for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, this time not from habit, but with intention. Imagine that before your feet even touch the floor, you remember, I'm not average, I'm aligned. Take a breath and choose your first thought. You might say, this is a day I get to create. I release the need to rush. You don't rehearse your old worries. You move with a quiet, grounded knowing. You might say, I don't have to earn my worth. I'm already enough. I am who I came here to be. And as you go about your day, you find yourself speaking from connection, from love instead of defense. Pausing, taking that pause, pausing instead of reacting. You're noticing beauty where you used to see inconvenience. You're trying not to impress anyone. You're simply living as the truth of who you really are, because this is not about changing the world. It's about not forgetting who you are within it. So let's take a breath into that version of you, that unshrinking, unapologetic, quietly powerful you, and whisper to yourself within, this is a life I choose now, not average, not borrowed, but true. I'm not average. I release the need to think of myself as so. I'm not average. I'm aligned. I'm aligned with truth and purpose. I'm supplied, supported, and sustained. I am guided. I'm growing. I am becoming. and I am ready now. So here's the charge I leave you with today. Don't go average on yourself. Not this week, not today, not ever. Don't shrink to fit into the room. Don't dim your light because someone else forgot theirs. Don't let the old voices, the old stories of not enough, don't let them get to decide who you are now. You were made in the image of this creative intelligence. You were born for expansion, not explanation. Again, you were born for expansion, not explanation. You were called to radiance, not repetition. Again, you were called to radiance. So this week, live awake, live boldly, live like someone who remembers who they are, because the universe is not repeating itself through you. The universe is revealing something brand new, something only you can bring. So let's anchor it now in an I am prayer of certainty and power. You can repeat after me or just soak it in. I am a radiant, powerful, creative expression of life itself. I am a radiant, powerful, creative expression of life itself. I'm not here to blend in. I'm here to wake and rise, to wake up and rise. I'm not limited by the past. I'm not held back by fear. I'm not confused about my worth. I am aligned. I'm connected with truth, with love, and with purpose. I'm supplied and supported. I'm sustained. I am the light in this world. I am a light in the world. I shine with grace and power. Today, I say yes to the highest in me. Again, today I say yes to the highest in me, and I let the rest fall away. I don't go average. I go infinite. I go radiant. I go divine. And so it is. And so thank you for all being with us today. If you're here in the Zoom call, this is the moment where we're going to turn the cameras around, where you get to share what came up for you today, today's presentation, or anything else. I want to welcome anyone who's new. I'm really glad you made it and you found us. You've got a divine appointment, so keep tuning in with us. There'll be a couple of moments for everyone in just a moment. So let us know where you're from and how you found us. And you can raise your hands, or Jimmy will probably try to call on whoever he can. Usually gets around to everyone. So thank you again for all of you for being here. And so it is.